Get Into Geek, episode 30. We are talking family. Season 2, episode 8 of SG1. We are the Get Into Geek team. We're here to talk about Stargate each and every week. Just wrap up an episode each and every podcast. All thanks to our newbie Stargate fan of the team, Rhys. We'll get to him in a sec. My name is Mitch. Joining me, the full team, Maddie.
Giving his review early. Again.
No, I'm here.
Oh, he's here.
I'm here, hi.
Brendan,
Hey,
you're
mate.
here too.
Surely am.
And as mentioned before, newbie Rhys.
Present.
Thank you.
I just wish I was off.
Welcome back to Get Into Gates. We got a little bit blue there. Only a minute into the... Look, this is a record. A minute into our podcast, and we've already had to stop.
A little bit blue.
Calm down.
I think as soon as Brendan started talking about...
Welcome back to Get Into Gate again.
Let's just start the whole thing again. Welcome to...
Start with the synopsis.
Episode 208.
Let's get in. There's no way that we can get too dirty if I'm reading the synopsis, which is what I do each and every week to see how they describe this episode back in 1998. Let's put on my best voice here. SG-1 goes on a passionate mission to rescue Teal'c's son, Rhys, from the evil grasp of Apophis. But when they finally reach Rhys, he doesn't want to be saved. He's been brainwashed into accepting Apophis as his god. Can Teal'c find a way to win back his son?
Someone needs to take that off him.
Look, guys, okay, Maddie, you're not in on this conversation. Boys, we really need to talk about this. We said we were going to do it last week.
I had one particular note on this episode, and that was Rhys is a dead shit.
He does just make you want to not have children.
Yeah.
Like he just if I had a kid and it turned to be Rhys, I would be one of those fathers who just disappears and never sees their
An
children.
automatic advocate
That's what
for
Teal'c
birth
did.
control.
He's like, this kid's
He actually-
shit. I'm out.
He actually
going to another
goes
planet.
into his room on the base and still prays to Apophis every night. He's just using his excuse to get away from that kid.
Oh my god.
Well, look, as has been the theme, we mention this every week as we review Season 2, they are repeating a lot of themes or repeating similar sort of storylines as what they did in Season 1. This is very similar to Bloodlines, where we were introduced to the fact that not only does Teal'c have a family that he left, a wife and a son, but they had to go on a bit of a rescue mission, and that's what this is as well. Braytek shows up, hey, you've got to come and rescue your son, and your wife's pissed at you, again, sort of stuff. So we have been saying, though, that each episode of Series 2 that has kind of mimicked an episode of Season 1 has been better. Maddie, I'm going to assume you don't think that's the case. Do you prefer Bloodlines to Family?
Oh, mate, that's like saying, do you prefer one STD to another? Like, they're both...
That was your first thought?
You are just filthy today.
that was not my first thought. That was the PG version
Okay.
of what was actually going on in my head.
Interesting.
I can't cop either of these episodes. They are just...
Wow.
But you love politics.
I can't... That's got... What has politics got to do with a bratty
Politics was shit.
Yeah, but... In
That's what
terms
I'm
of,
getting at right there. Everyone else
Political
understands.
commentary versus like a bratty little kid who's begging for a punch in the face.
Mate,
Yeah, but that's like your politician. That's why you love him,
And
because you hate him so much.
But that was before he was brainwashed. You want to punch him in the face, and now he's brainwashed. I want to punch him in the face. I would have knocked 2 of his teeth out.
Yeah, but at the end they shot him. So
Yeah, but only with a zap. I mean, pull out a P90 or
he's
something.
in great pain.
nothing else is working. What should we try? I don't know. Shoot him.
Look, it does pain me because this episode is written by the great and powerful Catherine Powers.
Yes.
No, Mitch and I are just sitting back while you two are doing that going, this is what parenthood is, guys. So if this frustrates you just watching 42 minutes of it.
When was the last time one of your kids was abducted by a false god and brainwashed?
No, I'm just
And
talking
wanted to
about
give
you want
you
to punch
teeth
kids in the
anthrax.
face.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Punch kids in the face. Shoot them with a zap.
But I have 2 notes for this episode. The first one in bold, full capitals is just groan with an exclamation point, and then the second is oh how the mighty Catherine has fallen. Like this is the first of her episodes that I just
Emancipation, I'll throw that up there.
Yeah, we all know my feelings about emancipation, but she wrote that. She wrote Thor's Hammer, Thor's Chariot, Enigma.
Slide on past that.
Yeah. All great episodes. I'm not going to buy that emancipation.
Yeah, well, so
anymore,
she
it's
has
fine.
written 2 shit ones and 4 good ones, so it's good. Not bad. Not bad average, really.
I'll go to Rhys, because Rhys, you do love Teal'c. You are new to the show.
Yeah.
This is your first time watching it. You aren't sort of filtered out by the next 200 episodes after this to sort of compare it to. What do you think?
I don't like seeing Teal'c vulnerable. When he, especially, like, I don't know, it just seemed out of character when he goes back and finds out that his wife is now his ex-wife. And then he sort of gets real angry and leans over on the table with both arms. I'm like, that's not Teal'c. Like, that's just some angry guy. Like, I don't know, it just was very out of character for him.
No, but that's what it is on that planet.
And to Frotac, of all people, like, she had Teal'c and she went to Frotac?
Yeah, but
Is
as she
that-
says,
I mean,
he's
one-
the only one that asked. And he's rich, so...
She was in the slums.
Yeah.
That's what Daniel said. Well, Teal'c, would you rather...
Mate.
last time we were here, they're in the slums, and basically...
The slums or a guy in a skirt? Come on.
Well, they all wear
Like,
skirts.
he was sitting by the fire like he was bloody Hathor, like the way he had his legs crossed and his little mini skirt on. He probably got that from the actress who played Teal'c the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a different day.
Yeah, they got
We
rid
said
of
that last time. The what did you call it?
the Valley Girl. Yeah, they got rid of
That's
her.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's just because
So
they
was.
realised she was crap or whether she wasn't available. I don't know, but they've recast a new drag, and I did prefer this Teal'c.
Yeah,
the first one.
definitely.
She was a
Yeah,
little
she was
more,
better.
a little more regal and
Loving.
and proud, and
A little bit more motherly, a little bit more wifey. Like,
Yeah.
it fit the role a lot better than last time, where she
Less
was almost...
slutty.
Yeah.
she was more like an out-of-control teenage daughter last time around
Yeah, I
that
feel
Teal'c
like-
had to
Yeah.
control.
That she would have been a good second wife for Teal'c. Like, if, like
Bit of tail.
if he had like if polygamy was a thing on Teal'c, and it's like, well, you have your first wife and then you get your second wife and your third wife, and and you live in it and you get a harem. It's like, well, clearly the first one would have been his his
A
second
Jafar
wife.
harem. What a place to visit.
Wow.
I didn't mind this episode as much. Certainly not like you, I think. And maybe now, if you were to quiz me why, I probably couldn't put up a big argument for you. But like Ryag does get annoying, and I guess it's because the first time we see him in this episode, he's like, "No, get your hands off me, Chauvin! What am I got up office?"
Dressed
And
like
you're
a
"You
Roman
little
centurion
shit.
as well.
What are you doing? I'm just wondering though, what this episode would be like if Stargate was on now. What they could do with a lot of the issues going on in the world and a lot of the soldiers and things like this could be a really interesting episode, based around PTSD or soldiers coming back from war to find their families have maybe moved on from them and things like that. Like, maybe that's what this was back in the mid-90s, but it's also, well, look, this is a mainstream sci-fi show that doesn't really hit at the issues that deeply. Let's just, it's a bare sort of very thin veil sort of feel for the episode back then. But I don't know. I guess because it's got Braytech. We find out Apophis is actually still alive. Because the characters didn't know that. We knew that, yes, but the characters suddenly get told that. Braytech tells them as if like, doesn't everybody know this?
Speaking of, I have a piece of audio here that I've just labelled bullshit.
I am told he and Chloral escaped through the onboard Stargate before your explosive devices destroyed the ship.
They must have used those ring things to get to the gate just after I did.
Well, no, because we see it. Daniel jumps through the event horizon like a second before the ship explodes.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, come on.
Well, I feel...
Watch the episode
Yeah,
and then
you're right.
write this one if
feel-
you're going to reference it.
I suppose Daniel doesn't know... Well, I guess he went and looked at the clock, so potentially he knows how long it took before the ships exploded. But I can't remember the exact order, but didn't they piss off before Daniel got
Yeah.
shot?
No, so I wanted to go back and watch it before this, but I ran out of time. But from memory, there's the scene where Daniel runs to the Teal'c, looks at the timer, then runs off. Then you cut to Apophis and Chloral using the rings. Then you cut back to Daniel in the gate room, jumping through, because there's only like 20 seconds left on the timer.
Yeah.
Daniel then basically runs from the Teal'c to the gate room, jumps through the event horizon, and the bomb goes off. And we spoke about this in Serpent's Grass. He did dial the alpha site and went through. Well, clearly that explosion would have translated through the Stargate. So there would have been some kind of explosion or energy surge come through the gate to confirm the fact that the ship was destroyed. So it's just one of those things where
Maybe there was a second gate.
Whoa!
We will never know.
Well, I think obviously at this point in the show, it's kind of a mystery, and they've kind of explained it away here in something that we know not to be true.
Yeah.
But without spoiling anything for Rhys, I think when we get to Dead Man's Switch in season 3, something we find out there, I think, is probably a more probable hypothesis for how Chloral and Apophis escaped. I just don't think. Obviously, Catherine probably never went back and watched the episode before writing this, or she was.
I'm not getting paid for this.
She could have written this before that episode was finished in terms of production. We don't know
Yeah,
what
that's
happened
true.
there. So it could just be just a little, omission
Just
there.
an editing.
I did.
error.
It's just too late.
I think
to
the one that
fix.
you're referring to, which was like a type of ship, right?
Yes, yeah.
The other ship that I was trying to remember, there was a ship where they ring down from, and in the Children of the Gods. So I went
Yeah.
back. It's not actually
that
that
was
ship,
that's a big glider.
but you never see that ever again.
No, and in fact, we talked about this in Children of the Gods. Obviously, we have all the original DVDs that have the original version with all the naked Sharae and everything. And in the Children of the Gods re-release that came out after the show was finished, they edited all that out and they actually redid the CG and changed that glider into the ship that we're talking about.
Really?
From Dead Man's Switch. Apparently, I've not seen the
Me neither.
Children of the Gods cut, but there's a particular prominent component of the ship we're talking about that would lead me to believe that that's how Apophis and Chlorel escaped.
Yeah.
Without giving away for Rhys.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about, there's
Yeah.
obviously a clear component of that ship that could explain how they got away and without the team knowing.
Yeah.
Whereas a glider obviously couldn't do that, and yeah.
No.
So,
Yeah, it's a bit annoying.
but obviously, like that ship doesn't exist for another year. So even though it, in the universe it's existed for hundreds of years, at
Yeah.
this point it's nothing that
You don't know
no
about
writer
it.
has created it yet. So it's one of those things where again we've got to kind of retroactively go back and sort of apply the
Yeah.
later on rules to the older episodes when they're still figuring
Which is
stuff
okay.
out.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Back on
It's Stargate.
As Ben says from our DC Get Into Geek chats,
Yeah.
it's just a TV show.
No,
It's
it's
fine.
not just a TV show.
Maybe
We've
DC,
discussed
yes.
this. Stargate SG-1.
Back to the personal politics side of this story. Like when you look at Teal'c, and you said, Rhys, that you don't like seeing him vulnerable, and me having seen this episode again in the past, I've forgotten a lot about it. I was surprised that it was just an out and out, divorce essentially, and she's remarried, and it's done. Like he's asked her to marry him because he wants to marry her. She's went, yep, this will work out well, and they didn't. She said, no, I don't have love for him, but it wasn't like that guy being Teal'c's friend said, look, I married her just so she would be protected while we waited for you to return.
Yeah.
He was like, sorry, man, like
Totally wanted to hit
Yeah.
that.
You saw me, man. You saw us at the wedding, man. I had eyes for her. Like, we always had a thing,
Yeah.
man. You were just the one who asked her for a drink that night.
And then he gets really petty in the fact that, like, Teal'c thought this whole time they were married.
Yeah.
At no point did they try and contact Teal'c to say anything. And then,
Can you sign these papers, maybe?
yeah, just let him
Maybe that was
know.
one of the bumps coming through the wormhole.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
iris.
so Frotak is basically a cuckolding son of a bitch at this point. And then later in the episode at night, they're both worried about Dreyarch and Teal'c are both worried about Ryak, and they sort of have a tender moment and they kiss, and suddenly that turns Frotak into the bad guy.
Yeah, and like immediately
He turns
goes
into
against
this
everything he believes in.
Jealous douche, and suddenly goes,
Yeah.
oh, okay, you kissed your wife who I stole from you. Okay, well, now we're enemies, and I'm going to go and give you up to Apophis. It's like,
You think if
Well,
he
they-
was
Really, mate?
true Jafar, he would go up and smack him, right?
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
and what was the silver emblem? Like that's we never see that again. This is the first and last time we ever see any Jafar with
Yeah.
a silver emblem as opposed to a gold or just a black tattoo, and it's never kind of established what that means. Is he a Gould accountant? Like I don't know. Like what is he? Middle management?
Ran
Is he
out of
admin?
gold spray paint.
Oh, we ran out of gold.
So he's
Give him the silver.
obviously he's higher than a normal Jafar warrior that just has the tattoo
Yeah.
to warrant a gold symbol. A silver symbol. So it's like, why wouldn't he could just confront Teal'c about macking on, his wife instead of just running to Apophis and giving him up? Like that's one of the reasons, aside from the fact that I want to punch Ryak in the face, this is another one of the reasons why I don't like this episode very much, because it just, and I hate to say this about Catherine, but it was poorly written. Like it just, I'm sorry, Catherine, I love you.
Controversial.
I love you.
I guess how else would you? I mean, obviously, at the end, Ryak and Dreyarch go to the Land of Light. I guess the whole episode was based around the fact that they needed to get them
Away from Teal'c.
away
and
from
then Apophis.
Teal'c, and then yeah,
Yeah, it's quite funny though, because at the start of the episode, Hammond basically says your primary goal here is to bring Ryak and Teal'c to Earth.
true.
Dreyarch.
Dreyarch. They get him there. All right, you wouldn't have much of a life here. Let's just ship you off somewhere. It's fine.
And Hammond did really feel for Teal'c in that moment. He said, look, this is your mission. It's not so much go over there and kill Apophis or anything. Just go back and get your son. But he prefaced that by saying, look, you said your family would make you vulnerable, then he prefaces it with this.
Teal'c, you originally withheld information about your family because you were afraid it would make you vulnerable. Well, it has. I want this to be the last time.
Yeah, like Hammond's
I was
like...
waiting for the burn.
Hammond's just like, I've had enough of your shit. This is gonna be the last
Like
time.
it's cold, but it's a good leader. Like he's not just black or white. He's not a robot. He feels for him. It's a family thing, but he's also look seriously. If you're going to be a part of this shit's got to stop because it's affecting the entire team. So I like that. It was a good moment from
You've
Hammond.
run out of sick days and carer days. So go sort it out and come back.
I guess in the way that, Thor's Chariot was a sequel to Thor's Hammer, and we have been comparing how much of this season is the same as last season. This is pretty much a direct sequel to Bloodlines. So I guess, and it was left kind of very open-ended in Bloodlines in that Teal'c and Ryak are still on Teal'c. Obviously, Braytak has a little more, he can move around a little more freely and all that sort of thing. So I guess this episode had to happen in terms of we had to get those two off Teal'c and away and safe somewhere. So I guess that's kind of what Hammond was saying there. It's like, this is the last time we're going to do an episode like this. So just get him, put him away somewhere, and we can forget about him.
But why did they need to have her remarried? And
that's what I'm saying. I didn't see any point to all that. And Frotak turning into a jealous douche, because he and clearly Frotak and Teal'c have done a lot worse while Teal'c's been away than just a kiss.
Yeah, it was clear there was no moment where it's like, look, nothing has happened. I'm in love with her, but look, I would never do that to you as a friend. I've just married her to look after her. It was like,
Sure, buddy.
No,
Their symbiotes have touched.
Yeah, they got a pound town.
it'd be so hilarious if you just saw him kissing. And he goes, "Wait, Teal'c, how does my..."
Hey, Teal'c, you do know I shell kecked her Nemron. So yeah, for me, there was just a lot of random crap in here that just didn't.
I think what I did like was that the cold opening was they go, incoming wormhole. It's SG1's ADC, and they're like, what? But we're here.
Yeah,
confused puppy. Like, just one ear to the
they
side.
pop up one by one.
Hammond of Texas, will you give me leave to enter your compound?
You have it, Master Braytak.
Well, you didn't die on the way in, so obviously I have. But that's the thing, because I time-coded it. It's when the wormhole opens to when they open the iris, to when he allows the technician, it's 22 seconds.
Jesus.
So if he had and we know that travelling through the gates like 3 to 5 seconds, he's dead. If he goes straight through.
It's not like a receiver, is it? It's not like they send through the IDC and they get a green light to go
They
through.
do.
Well, they got the IDC before the gate opens again, but
Yeah.
we're not going to go into that.
Well,
But-
and at
did
the
they
end,
really? Yeah.
at the end, Teal'c shoots Ryak with a closed Zat gun as well.
Yeah.
But, so we'll move
Oh,
past that. But yeah, there
A
is.
couple of times that happened.
yeah.
Again, it hasn't been established yet, but in a I think it might be much later, like season 7 or 8 or something like that. They get Walter to transmit a hold signal through the gate. So the GD, so you send through your code
okay.
on your GDO. And you get the okay or the no go. Well, someone got sent a hold signal. So it's like, we acknowledge that you're there, but just hold on before you step through.
Yeah.
Hold, please.
Hold, please.
I guess that makes sense.
So I guess, Braytak has sent through his code,
Yeah.
and he's waiting for the authorization to go through. Because there are other episodes later in the series where SG1 are like under fire at the gate, and they've sent through their code. Because remember, there's an episode where it's like you actually see staff blasts coming through the Stargate because they're shooting it at SG1 off world. They're translating through the Stargate and hitting the glass
Inside.
where Hammond and Walter are.
Yeah. They close the iris.
But
Or
no
they-
one can send through a code, or they've been over, and Hammond's like, I need you to do this first, and they're like, mate, we can't, we're taking fire, we need to go through now or never.
Yeah.
We need you to open the iris,
Yeah.
So I guess in
They
this
radio through.
yeah, so I guess in this situation,
Or just
again,
blow a big horn.
so again, much like what we're talking about with Apophis and Chlorel, I think we have to apply future rules to this episode. In that, Braytak just got a hold message, just waited for the okay.
How's little bloody Ryak spitting in Teal'c's face?
Oh, wonder how many takes they did of that.
Oh,
One,
man.
hopefully.
Now, there's two fathers in the room. Even if your children were mind controlled by an evil god and they spat in your face.
Look, if my kid was mind controlled, I'd backhand him just as like a first response. I'm like, is this going to work? It works in movies.
If this doesn't work, I'll
there's a
shoot him.
phrase, snap out of it for a reason.
Exactly.
Bitch slap. Yes. you would bitch slap them.
Oh man, my kid spat in my face.
And that
Holy
was-
Christ!
That was a pretty serious loogie too. That wasn't only a bit of child spit. That was some. Some phlegm.
he
Yeah, he'd
tricked
been
him
drinking
too.
milk that morning just to get that ready.
He tricked him too. Like he smiled as he walked over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna spit in your face, mate.
I
If
think
only I had anthrax
especially-
teeth in me.
Especially from a society that's, what is it, archaic? No, that's not the right word I'm looking
Well,
for.
cake is old.
Well, I guess it is.
Do you mean like
but-
honor bound?
Yeah, well, more like they're pretty old school in terms of they've got
Silence, woman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh yeah, didn't Teal'c get very like?
yeah. He'd definitely be hitting. He'd definitely
Yeah.
be an abuser.
Yeah,
So to speak.
definitely. He would have copped it when he was a kid, so
Yeah.
he would have.
Well, so that's what I found surprising about this episode, especially when you think of, well, one, Catherine Power's writing it, so the most established female writer so far this show has had, and certainly our favourite.
Yeah, one of the sisterhood, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, and also the steps they've made since Emancipation, where it's like female empowerment, and how Carter is, nearly on an equal playing field as her role, not so much her rank, but her role within the team.
She's
as,
definitely not
as
getting
Jack.
paid as much.
And the
No,
fact
certainly
that-
not. So,
Jesus
that's a
Christ.
1990s issue. Okay, that's fine.
And the fact
Everyone
that
else
Catherine,
gets an audio.
Yeah. When Catherine wrote the Samaria episodes, it's like we go to this Viking planet. You'd expect to see a big Viking with a beard and stuff like that,
Yep.
and instead we're introduced to Gawain.
Yep.
You know,
She's running the
both
show.
times. She's running the
Yeah.
show.
So all these steps that they've taken to sort of level out the playing field on a sexism sort of level, and then you get these episodes where it's not like Carter never says a thing. She never brings it up with Teal'c. She never says anything to anyone else. They never cut to her sort of even just a look like, wow, this is so backwards the way that he's treating his
Yeah.
wife. He calls her woman. I never want to see you again, and you're a vile thing, and all this.
Yeah.
Like all these steps they've taken, but then they're almost giving respect to the old way of things. It's really it's
You'd
strange.
think, given
really
that
strange.
they're a warrior race as well, it's like, and again, not to ruin anything for Rhys, but later on, down the line, we do see some female Jafar warriors. So it's like I almost, given that Catherine Powers wrote this,
Sexy.
you'd think, oh mate, you have no idea. Jesus. You kind of almost wish that, Teal'c had kind of stood up, and taken her own power, and it would almost be good to see her. I feel like it would be more heartbreaking for Teal'c if you saw Teal'c thriving. He went back.
Yeah.
And she was like the leader of a community somewhere. She'd taken, even though she was the
Yeah.
husband of the Sholvar, she'd taken her power back somewhere else.
She was king of the slums.
Yeah, she'd separated herself from the Sholvar, and was a leader in a community somewhere, not necessarily in the same town, because we don't know at this stage whether Teal'c is the only town on the planet, and Teal'c is the name of the town, or Teal'c is the
I
name
think they
of the
changed
planet.
it to just the planet. didn't
Yeah,
they?
eventually it's kind of Teal'c is the planet, but surely there's a few other settlements around.
Yeah.
For Catherine Powers, you think that'd kind of be the story that she would write, as opposed to quiet woman.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that, this other man could just come along and take his wife and be like, oh, well, she would have died if it weren't for a man to come and save her. A man in a skirt, no less. So, yeah,
I did, going off that topic, though, like we're talking about how much of a dead shit Ryak is.
Mate,
I
I've doing that for
hated-
days.
The first time I saw it, I was really frustrated, but this time around, I could appreciate his performance. Like, because we hate him so much is because he was so good, that kid.
Oh, yeah, he plays a
Yeah.
little shit. And I do grow, I do grow to like Ryak in
Yeah.
later seasons. I think about season 6, he has a really good sort of 2-parter episode, and a great one in season 7.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just my, like, I can't do kids. Like, I can't, I used to work at a radio station. I was a promo kid, and a lot of the time you would go to events and you'd just be stuck babysitting. Parents would just drop their kids off with you.
What?
And yeah, like, you'd go to like a football game, and you'd have a big setup there with bean bags and a Nintendo Wii and all these
Yeah,
different little
okay.
games. And parents would just leave their kids with you and bugger off to the
Outside bar.
to the drink shed.
Holy
And
Jesus.
you'd be like the late night food markets, like at South Bank and stuff like that. You just become a dumping ground for kids.
It's not a crash, guys.
It's like guys, I don't have a blue card.
I just wait till there's a whole heap of kids and just go, all right, I'm packing up.
Yeah.
See ya.
And to make it worse, you drove a van to go to these
Yeah,
places.
I drove a van
Unmarked.
that had blacked out back windows.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
with the marketing.
You were
wrap.
ready for it.
Yeah. So I think, that was the one part of the job that I just couldn't cop, and all my workmates knew that. They were just like, "Oh yeah, don't let Matty near. Like he will just knee those kids in the head.
Oh, okay.
Understandable.
Glad you said that.
Don't let me any of those kids.
So like,
He hasn't got a blue card.
unless it's my nieces or nephew, like I can't cop kids. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so maybe it's just
That's
my
pretty
own,
normal. Like,
my own prejudice against kids, but that's why I just can't cop.
You
Ryak
hate kids,
at
you
this
don't
age.
I got news for you, man.
Stand 'em.
Everyone hates kids. It's just whether you can stand them enough.
yeah, it's just it's just a matter if you want to continue the human race or not.
If you want to leave a legacy.
Selfless people like Brendan and I.
We'll see. Now I've not met Brendan's kids, but I've met your kids, Mitch, and I love your kids. They're they're adorable.
When
But
you
I've
preface
spent,
that with everything you just said, I
Yeah.
don't believe it.
No, but I'm about to say I've cumulatively spent about 8 minutes with your kids
Yeah.
total over like
Small-
4 or 5
small
visits.
doses, small
So that's
doses.
fine.
You know, the only people that aren't in my family or that aren't my good friends that I've grown up with, like Brendan, that tell me, people that I work with, like you, that I have worked with, that tell me that they love my kids, are the people that have told me they hate children. And I'm like, I don't need you to try and defend yourself. Like, oh, but your kids are fine. I'm like, yeah, because I'm here.
Your kids are, because I don't spend any time with them. Like if I spend, if
I
like,
don't know them.
But if they were in front of Maddie's van playing Wii, he would hate them.
like if I had to spend an hour with them, I'd probably hate your kids. But
And hate me by proxy.
because all I see is little cute videos on your Facebook page,
Yeah.
things like that, I'm like, oh, those kids are adorable. Look at that face. Oh, because then I can just turn that video off and go and do my own thing. I don't have to.
Even halfway through.
I
That's
don't,
good.
yeah, I don't have to keep.
Seen one, seen them all.
You posted two videos on your birthday just recently of your kids getting. I watched one, didn't make it through the second one.
Yeah, it was a lot longer, and I apologise to any of my friends.
When you
that
say a
follow
lot
me on
longer, you
Facebook.
mean like the longest one was 20 seconds.
Yeah. Made it through the first one. Oh, they're so cute. Second one, this is just the same shit. I'm done.
But to be honest, your kids don't have anthrax teeth, so they're a little bit better than
Yeah,
mine.
That's
true,
absolutely true. Yes.
That's true.
Or do they?
And yeah, going towards the acting of little Rhys, that biting down was some good acting for a kid that age, and the way he could do like those turns from being a little shit to sort of fooling Teal'c into thinking that
When he's pacing the room back and forth in front of Teal'c, I'm like, oh, this guy's good. Just
he's got some
changing
chops.
emotions, at the drop of a
Yeah,
hat.
when you said the smile, that conjured up a vivid image when he was. I'm like, oh, he's coming around, and I'm like, hang on, I've seen this.
Bastard, don't you be sucked in, Brendan. Well, knowing where this episode does end up with that twist or reveal, if it is one, do you think that the entire process, story, their interactions with the Gould and Jafar up until that point was all part of Apophis's plan? Or, they come out of the gate, there's literally 4 Jafar there.
Yeah.
They get knocked out by this gas. Is that part of the plan to make it look easy? Or is it just Jafar being shit?
He's Bray
No,
taking on it.
Like,
I
should
think-
Apophis be out to kill them any chance he gets? Or is he going, you know what? I don't just want to kill Teal'c. I want to break him. I want to break his heart first. So let him get through, kill all my expendable Jafar. Eventually find his way to my palace and find his child. Again, won't be guarded by more than 2 or 3 of my expendable Jafar. And then at that very moment, his kid is conditioned now to tell him to f*** off.
No, the subtext I got from this episode is the idea with the anthrax teeth didn't come until the failed rescue attempt.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I mean. So up until that point, do you think it was part of Apophis's plan?
No, like he didn't know that Teal'c was going to come. I think his idea was he's going to take Teal'c's son, brainwash him, get on the little YouTube ball thing. What do we call it? The TV ball.
FaceTime.
And show there's because obviously he's trying, and they do mention in the episode he's trying to regain power after his loss, failing to destroy the Ta'ri. He's trying to prove to his people again that he is a god, and to him, in his twisted mind, the best way to do that is to brainwash the son of his greatest enemy, and his son to renounce Teal'c and pledge his allegiance to Teal'c. Because really, if the anthrax teeth was his thing from the start, well, there's no point in Rhyak refusing and screwing up that first attempt.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I just mean
Yeah.
up until that attempt. Do you think? But again, you raise a
No.
good point that he didn't know Teal'c was going to come.
He
Then
didn't
a
know
week
when or how-
before,
'cause there's
3 weeks
also-
after.
Yeah, because they did say, because Teal'c did work out, they've taken my son because they want me. But in saying that, he was already brainwashed when they came to save him the first time. So he would have had a plan to go and FaceTime his whole world and say, oi.
Once he knew.
Yeah.
If you're a traitor, I'll turn everyone against you, even your family.
I
so-
I mean, good plan.
He
That's that.
was-
I mean, Teal'c he got destroyed. Watching
Yeah,
that.
I think Apophis's initial idea was to set a trap to draw Teal'c there, and capture Teal'c in the palace.
Yeah.
Obviously, SG-1 came along and fucked shit up, so that didn't happen. But then Ryak sort of, did the double cross and refused to leave. Obviously, he would have told that to Apophis. Because up until that point, you've got that big group of guards that come into Throwback's house and search for them.
Yeah.
So Apophis was actively searching for them. It's not like those guards pretended not to notice them. They were legitimately hidden in a secret, little hole in the wall.
Yeah.
So I think once he couldn't find them in Teal'c, that's when he came up with the idea to do the anthrax teeth. Because then, obviously, at the end of the episode, when they're trying to get to the gate, Carter and Daniel are like, that's when they're like, oh, this is too easy. Something's not right here. This is too easy. Yeah. And that's obviously when Apophis has gone, okay, well, I'll sacrifice a couple of these guards and let them get through the gate so that then Ryak can be my Trojan horse and take out the Tari.
He was just too eager, wasn't he, Ryak? When do we get to the surface?
Yeah.
Come on, mate.
It's funny. Good actor in real life, shit actor in the show.
But that's the thing. Like that's what I was thinking of. Like, do the Goa'uld rely too much on the fact that they are this all powerful and mighty, and just expect that humans from Earth just aren't that bright?
Yeah,
and they
they're
won't
arrogant
work
as
out? Yeah.
That's their downfall. It's like the Luke Skywalker Emperor thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you think about it, as far as like in terms of Apophis and Ra, they're used to Abydos level and Teal'c level sort of intelligence and ways of thinking.
Yeah.
These people that are completely reliant on them and view them as gods. We find out, a couple of episodes ago that the Asgard and the Goa'uld are at war.
Yeah.
Well, the Asgard aren't kind of like a humanoid race. Yes, they're bipedal, but they don't look like us. So I feel like, the Goa'uld and Apophis just seem to think, oh, well, these are just petty humans. They'll fall for these tricks because they're used to having the upper hand. And obviously we know from Need as well that, the use of the sarcophagus, kind of sends them a bit crazy. So all Goa'ulds to a degree are a little bit crazy. And then obviously we find out in later... We've spoken about it here, but we find out in later seasons, with their genetic memory. So it's like, Chlorel was born with all the memories of Apophis and all of Apophis's craziness. And it's like, well, then when Chlorel keeps using the sarcophagus, he gets even more crazy. And then if he has offspring... It's just like,
crazy evolution.
Yeah, it's just like the ball's rolling down the hill, just gaining, gaining more and more momentum as it goes.
I suppose, yeah, it'd just be the fact that they are human that they just presume. Because the Goa'uld don't know about the Nox, do they?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Because Apophis had no idea. He thought it was the Fenrir who
that
had the powers.
Yeah.
Well, Shackle did live with, like, he was there.
Didn't he die though, Shackle?
But not in that episode. Remember, he came back a couple of episodes later for a hot minute. I think
he's not a big talker.
He died in Karai. So potentially, whatever Shackle saw in the Nox episode, he reported back to Apophis.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got their asses handed to them on the Nox planet, so I can't see them going back there anytime soon.
Yeah, they wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
They'd probably bombard them from space. The other thing I noticed, Peter Bryant, who plays Throwback, also plays Hoskins in a later episode of SG-1 as a member of the Trust.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Because I'm like, I've seen him before.
He's alive.
Seen that guy before. All right. We all know what time it is.
Oh, yeah.
Something?
It's time to find out if Rhys has been paying attention. Oh, I hope I don't stuff this one up now. I'm being bloody recorded. I mean, visually.
All right. Fun time to find out if you've been paying attention. So these are all gimmies, mate.
Every week.
Because this was a Teal'c episode, got a few Teal'c questions here and some other different ones for you. So, short answer questions. You got 30 seconds on the clock to answer 5.
All
pass if you need to, and we'll come back to them if there's time. So time will start at the beginning of the first question. At the end of the first question, even.
I was going to say, you're changing the rules on him.
Less time.
All right. What is Teal'c's wife's name?
Oh, Drayok.
Correct. What is Teal'c's son's name?
Ryak.
Always getting
Oh,
there.
names.
How long can a wormhole be maintained for?
38 minutes.
Oh!
Is wormhole travel 2 ways?
No.
What is the lieutenant that had a crush on Carter in Message in a Bottle?
What is he?
What was his name? Lieutenant
Dan. Samsonite.
Oh, I was way off. Simmons.
Oh, Simmons.
Oh,
3 name questions.
Really?
Oh, shit,
Loser.
this thing's rigged.
I really thought you had it this time, but yeah, that was a pretty tough one at the end.
That was not a Teal'c question.
No, I said a couple. There's a couple of Teal'c questions.
Turns out Rhys has not been paying attention.
Oh, what a loser.
All right, well, that is episode 30 of Get Into Gate Family, Season 2, Episode 8 of SG1. We are the Get Into Gate team. Thank you very much for joining us again for Stargate Sundays. We will be back next week. Episode 31, we are talking secrets.
You have a secret, can you keep it?
Oh, God,
Why do I
don't.
start singing songs? I don't.
Yeah, okay, what from what show? From what show?
I have no idea.
Pretty Little Liars. I was hoping you would
okay,
know,
well,
but
there
it's
you go.
maybe worse that you don't. You just sing it
Nah,
anyway.
I've seen
Anyway,
an
why do
episode.
I know
You
it?
know
Let's
it?
move on. Let's move on.
Hang on.
Oh, God,
Hang
I
on,
put myself
hang
in that corner, didn't I?
Oh, yeah.
My name is Mitch. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mitch_Lewis. Matty,
High pitch, Matty.
Brendan,
At the Brendan Gibson.
and Rhys.
I'm at the Flying Gibson.
And the show as a whole, you can follow us at Get Into Gate on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can catch all of our podcasts from the past on SoundCloud and iTunes. Simply drop us a line, getintogate@gmail.com.
Secrets is somewhat of a bookmark, I suppose you'd call it, episode. So I think Rhys should record himself watching the first 5 minutes.
That's a good
maybe.
idea because it's
Cold
a
opening.
bit of
I'll
a
have to-
secret open. It's a bit of a you don't expect it, and then it kind of goes whoa.
Yeah.
That means I'll have to put bloody clothes on while I watch.
Basically, Daniel and Hammond.
Get it on!
So yeah,
Those two and poor man Sarah Silverman initiate wildfire. You know what I mean?
We know what wildfire is.
So you don't necessarily have to wear clothes while you do it.
I feel weird, 3 blokes telling you to record yourself, Rhys, but if you could do that over the next week, mate, that would be fantastic.
Be my pleasure. It just won't be going on a website this time.
put some clothes on. Maybe wear some pants.
Ugh. I'm not wearing undies though.
Now you've got a week to join us for Secrets, so you can catch Stargate SG1 where Rhys, you're watching it on Stan, the streaming service, of course. You can catch every single episode of Stargate on Stan, of course, available on iTunes, or if you've got Foxtel, it's on Sci-Fi, or the good old DVDs and Blu-rays, guys. So SG1 is out there, available to you. Get it any way you can, and we'll see you back next week, Stargate Sundays, for Secrets.
GetIntoGeek.com